Pastor, doesn't science disprove the Bible?
Isn't Genesis just a fairy tale?
Is God for real? Did he really create everything in 6 literal days?
Didn't God just use the Big Bang?
Why is there death and suffering? Do you really believe the Bible?
Didn't man evolve from apes?
For answers to these questions and more, stand by for Believing the Bible.
Welcome to Believing the Bible. This is Scott Lane with Ed Salzadell and Dr. Carl Williams. We're here to reassure you can believe the Bible from the very first verse. Today we're going to talk about angels. Are they in Scripture? Do they exist? What are they? Every time we hear a bell, does one get its wing? We're going to ask all of those questions. Carl had a discussion with them in your group.
Well, angels is a topic that a lot of people like to talk about. I mean, it's been in Hollywood as well. Touched by an Angel television series, The Highway to...
That was a favorite of mine.
It sounds great. We got these angels who are coming to do the good work to help people on their way to heaven.
Isn't that kind of like a psychological plus, though, for some people to say that I've got this angel out here?
It can be a plus, and it can also be a detriment. In the Catholic Church, there is the doctrine of guardian angels. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, they carry it a little bit too far, in my opinion, in that we are supposed to trust in the guardian angel to take our petitions before God. Now, if we read Scripture, we know that Jesus is our priest. We don't have to go through anybody else to go to God. We go through Jesus. Jesus is God. What more don't need to say to your guardian angel, whatever angel's name may or may not be, which is another point of contention that some people have. You don't have to have an angel carry the message to God for you. Now, God sends angels. It says that in Scripture, and we know that through the book of Daniel. The angels that Daniel spoke with, he spoke about 2 of them, Gabriel and Michael, and they each had different jobs. Gabriel was more of the announcer of messages. Michael was the super soldier, the Captain America, if you will, of the angels who would go ahead and fight battles. So we have those types of angels. Michael is described as a seraph, and we know from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 2 through 6:6 that the seraphim are described as having 6 wings, 2 to cover the face, 2 to cover the feet, and 2 with which to fly. So we have descriptions of angels, but do they always look like that? We also have descriptions of angels in the Old Testament. Abraham was approached by angels who looked like men, and those 3 angels came and were like men that sat and ate and were entertained by Abraham and Sarah. And 2 of those went ahead to Sodom and Gomorrah. So they were like men. We don't always see them when they do their work, like the angel that went and slew 185,000 of the Assyrians who were parked outside of Jerusalem getting ready to invade it. So all we know is there was an angel that went in and took care of business. Now, in the New Testament, of course, Gabriel made an appearance to both the father of John the Baptist as well as the mother of Jesus. So separate entries for Gabriel. So we know that these angels do exist. They have specific jobs that God sends them. But do we have guardian angels? And what are the references for that might suggest that we do? And I'm not saying that we absolutely don't have guardian angels. I'm just saying that you have to look at the passages from which that information comes. In Matthew chapter 18, verse 10, Jesus tells his disciples to, hey, let the kids come to me because, quote, their angels, the children's angels, continually view the face of my Father. So from that, some in the Catholic Church say, hey, well, that must be the guardian angels for those kids. And if the kid has a guardian angel, they probably stay with them for life because, angels don't die. So, and then another passage that is frequently pointed to is in Acts chapter 12, verse 15. And this is after Peter had been imprisoned and was about to be executed, but an angel came and rescued him from his cell. So Peter, once he escaped and he realized that it was an angel who set him free, went to the house of the other apostles where they were sitting praying for him. And he knocked on the door, and a young woman named Rhoda answers the door. And that's one of the reasons why our daughter's name is not Rhoda. She answers the door and got so flustered that she goes running back into the room without opening the door and saying, hey, Peter's at the door, Peter's at the door. And their response is, it must be his angel. So even they believe that angels were assigned to each of them. Is that a basis for guardian angels? I'll let you decide.
I don't know. You're listening to Believing the Bible. This is Scott Lane with Ed Salzadell and Dr. Carl Williams. If you would like to learn more, go to sabsa.org. That is sabbsa.org. Today we're talking about angels in Scripture, what their attributes are, what's true and not true. When you brought this whole topic up, Carl, I looked through some things that can be verified within Scripture. And I'm going to cite some of these and Please react to any one of them if you wish to. Angels were created by God. We find that in Genesis 2:1. They have not been eternal with God forever like Christ. They are created beings. Angels were created to live for eternity, as is true for us. We were created to live for eternity. The question is whether we'll spend it with Him or in separation from Him.
Like some of the angels.
Like some of the angels.
Yeah.
Angels were present when God created the world. Angels do not marry, and that is a condition that we will be in when we get to heaven. There will no longer be marriage or giving in marriage. Angels are wise and intelligent. We find that from 2 Samuel 14 and Daniel 9:22. Angels take an interest in human affairs, and their interest in human affairs is God-directed. Angels are faster than humans. Angels are spiritual beings. Angels are not meant to be worshipped. One of the things they did in two different places was they would approach humans, and the humans would kneel down, bow, and that type of thing, and they'd say, "Get up.
Get up."
I am not that. Angels are subject to Christ. They're servants as we are. Angels have a will. They are not robots. Unfortunately, that was demonstrated very well by not only Satan, who rebelled, but the third of the angels that fell in the battle for heaven. Angels express emotions like joy and longing. Again, they are not robots. Angels are not omnipresent, omnipotent, or omniscient. We too often give them attributes that are godlike. Most angels remain faithful to God, and angels are too numerous to count. We have multiple places where they say there's thousands and tens of thousands of them. Now, 3 angels have names in the Bible, being Gabriel, Michael, and Lucifer, or Satan. Only one angel in the Bible is called an archangel. Archangel comes from the Greek word archelanos, meaning chief angel, and it refers to the highest, and again, that being Michael. Angels were created to glorify God and worship God the Father and God the Son. We get that from Revelations 4 and Hebrews 1. Angels report to God. Some angels are called seraphim, which you had a good description of. Angels are known variously as messengers, watchers, supervisors for God, military hosts, sons of mighty, sons of gods, or even chariots. Now, what I find interesting is we have descriptions of both now and later. Humans were made a little lower than the angels. We're told that in Hebrews 2:7. And yet, humans will be elevated above angels after the translation to heaven, as we're told that we will rule with Christ, which is fascinating to me, and it shows that these angels are going to have to be better than us in terms of not getting deceitful or wishing us negatively. Now, through the history, though, have angels always been angelic?
Now, one of the things that some people say, there was a death angel that killed all the firstborn of Eden, including the animals, but it was actually God did it directly. If you read the text, some people say it was a death angel. In fact, there's a lot of medieval art that would go along. A fierce-looking angel with wings going in with a sword and looking for the doorpost and seeing what's on the doorpost. So we know from reading the text of it, though, it says God did this directly. Now, did God do it directly, or did he have an angel do it?
Did he have an angel do it?
But there's no direct information saying there was a death angel.
All right, let me get into 2 others like that. When Adam and Eve were kicked out of Eden, what was set at the door?
There were 2 angels,
seraphim and cherubim, that were set there with a fiery sword to keep them out. Okay? That's not always being welcoming, okay?
Right.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Well, Sodom and Gomorrah, did the angels do the deed, or were they simply there to get Lot and his family out of Dodge? And they were basically doing that. They were
doing a positive, but was it perceived that way?
Right. Well, you could say that they were the harbingers of doom.
So again, this is the reason for me saying they're not always perceived to be angelic. We are told that on the night that they appeared to the shepherds in the field when Christ was born, that the shepherds were afraid.
Right.
Now, part of that could be because of the history of angels being associated with bad things, but it also could be, folks,
they were floating in the air.
It's night has become day, and I see angels floating in the air.
I might be a little bit upset myself.
Darn straight.
And what did they look like?
Darn straight.
That's the other thing.
White. They were just super white, brilliant, giving off light. So, yeah.
Now, out of all that, Carl, what have I not covered? What did you want to get into?
Well,
names?
like I said, there's a lot of, especially in the Catholic Church, there are other names for angels, which is in the Book of Tobit. And the Book of Tobit is one of the book that the Catholics include in their canon, what we would call one of the apocryphal books.
It's apocryphal, yeah.
And there are other books. The Book of Enoch names lots of other angels, and those get into the lower lore as well. As far as some scholars will say that some of the biblical names like Wormwood and where's the other one? Wormwood and Azazel that are in the books of Revelation and the books of Leviticus, and even Abaddon in Revelation, which is also called Apollyon, were possibly names of angels. So, you can take it as that or not, but they were, some theologians say that those were angel names because they were in charge of the bottomless pit, like Abaddon. Apollyon is the angel of the bottomless pit, and Azazel in Leviticus was the scapegoat, was the name of the scapegoat. And then Revelation, Wormwood was the bitter star.
Yeah.
So those
which might have been an angel, but also might well have been, it's been interpreted as an asteroid, meteorite, or whatever. Who knows?
Right. So again, definitely not something I would hang my hat on, any of those names, but some people say, yeah, those are names of angels. And again, some Catholic Church ascribe those names to being actual angels.
There's a lot we'll ask when we get up there as to what angels really are. We thank God for these created beings which have affected us positively through the centuries. We recommend that you check out Terry Reed's book on his website at Why Should You Believe. You can get access to a whole range of Dr. Carl Williams' books on Christian historical fiction on Amazon.com. And we also recommend Scott Lane's new book, What If God Wrote the Bible, which is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and everywhere else. Believing the Bible now has a new way you can support our ministry and get some great gifts. For a donation of $10 or more, we will email you a copy of Repetition in the Bible by Jack Cassione, which shows the Bible to be a self-proving document and shows God's protection of His Word over the ages. For a donation of $25 or more, we will also mail you a copy of Scott Lane's book, What If God Wrote the Bible, showing 6 things we should find in the world and in the Bible if God is the author of the Bible. To get these great gifts, send your check or money order to SABSA at 7620 Avery, Live Oak, Texas 78233. That's SABBSA at 7620 Avery Road, Live Oak, Texas 78233. This information for ordering is also on our contact page at sabsa.org. Information for creation events in our area are on our website's calendar page. For more information or to schedule a presentation, go to sabsa.org or call 210-599-7240. When you go to our website, you can click on a link to our newsletter. Our website has a link for contact information on which you can order our newsletter to be emailed to you, or you can call us. Also go to whyshouldyoubelieve.com. That is Terry's website containing articles looking at current day issues from a biblical perspective. SABSA meets the second Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. We are now meeting at Faith Lutheran Church just south of the corner of Jones Maltzberger and Thousand Oaks. There you will find biblical apologetics and creation science teaching found nowhere else in Bexar County, as well as the availability of books and videos on these important subjects. If you missed any part of this show, you can listen to the show anytime by going to the AM 630 KSLR, the Word in South Texas website. Click on KSLR Podcast, scroll down until you find Believing the Bible. Please join us again next Saturday for Believing the Bible. I'm Scott Lane, and for Terry Reed, Dr. Carl Williams, and Ed Salzville, thanks for listening, and we hope you found today a reason to believe the Bible.